to Washington at 6 in the morning today. So I'm going to go sans camera for a little while at least. I'm the new state director for rural development. I'm in my third week, and super honored to be in this position and just raring to go on good projects that help out rural Montana and working with MEDA and yeah, just looking forward to working with all of you.
Well, Kathleen, you're being very modest. You have quite a history. Like, for example, you were a Montana legislator, correct?
Yes.
And I believe you ran for governor.
No, I ran for Congress. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But they're both statewide, or they were statewide. So yeah, I did that twice. If you want more background, I've got a 38-year career in economics and natural resources. My specialty actually was in water, which involved bringing a lot of people together on super contentious issues and finding win-win-win solutions, which is my thing. And then, yes, I was a legislator in the Montana House for 3 terms. I vice chaired the taxation committee and the ag committee and served on natural resources and passed the cottage food law, which a lot of you may be familiar with, which was super fun. And just really tried to bridge divides and solve problems and improve the function of that institution. And then I tried to do that for Congress too, but came in second. And but now I feel like 38 years of my career has led me to this, and I'm super excited. And I'm also really excited to get back on the road and meet with partners and cultivate excellent projects. And you mentioned childcare. We just sent out an announcement that we funded some improvements to rural development funded improvements to a childcare in Twin Bridges, which is super fun. So lots of great stories coming out, and I want to have lots of great projects coming in. So yep.
Great, Kathleen. Thank you so much. And this might come as a surprise to you. Joe Willauer is going to be calling you and sharing about MEDA, but I don't know if you know this, but you are ex officio on the MEDA board.
Oh, welcome me. Great. And it'll be wonderful to talk to Joe. We have worked together. We worked together on a project probably 10 years ago now. So
okay, wonderful. Well, Kathleen, we're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. Wesley.
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to learning more. Wesley Feist, I'm, I guess, a veteran compared to Kathleen. I've been in my role for 8 weeks, so I'm going on 2 months here at the Department of Labor, but I'm the director of the State Workforce Innovation Board, which is the governor's workforce board, part of the mandatory federal law for the U.S. Department of Labor, and advising the governor's office on workforce opportunities throughout the state of Montana. But also glad to be here and learning more through the network because of my roles as I also sit on the Montana Business Assistance Connection Board, and I am on the City Council in the City of East Helena. So all of the conversations kind of all culminate into helpful knowledge for all of those roles. But my main function here today is as the State Workforce Innovation Board Director. So thanks for having me, and I look forward to learning more and hopefully sharing some of that information out as well, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's pretty funny. You've been on board twice as long as Kathleen. Laurie, would you share a bit about yourself, please, and how all this came about?
Hello, everybody. I'm Laurie Higgins with University of Idaho Extension. I'm a community development specialist. I'm located in Moscow, Idaho, but I have deep Montana roots, lots of family over there still, and that's where my heart will always be, just between you and me. But yeah, as Gloria said, I wrote the grants that are supporting some of the work we've been doing with community reviews, and supporting communities and the projects that come out of those, and things like the Peer Learning Network and the Housing Solutions Roundtable. And that's about it. That's me.
You're very humble, Laurie. Laurie and we call it the three-state design team totally revamped how we've done. We used to call them resource team assessments. And Kathleen, just for historic knowledge, USDA years ago provided a grant to MEDA to conduct resource team assessments from about 2002 to 2010. And then we were able to take off on our own, but USDA's historically been a supporter of them. And so because of this three-state vision Laurie had, we've been able to put our community reviews on steroids and really improve the process. Although, Bob, don't feel left out, because Lockwood was one of our most successful resource team assessments under the old model. And I know you've benefited from our new model too. So with that, Bob, would you introduce yourself?
So I got to learn how to run the machine, I guess. First of all, thank you to the person who typed in my new name. Except the I and the E need to be changed around. But
I can fix that.
I've been retired for about 13 years, and to keep me busy, I've been rattling around in Lockwood. My prior life was about 32 years with Department of Energy, and therein is my background. But 13 years takes me quite a ways away from that already, so I won't tell you what I did there. So, well, I've been here, actually, as Gloria said, we worked with MEDA on several projects. The one about, well, it has to be about 8 years ago, was the project to determine what Lockwood wanted into the future and that sort of thing. We did an extensive study with Gloria and her crew. And yes, it has been successful. Some of the major accomplishments were our sewer district, our water district have expanded considerably. We built a new high school in the last 3 years. And some of the other less seen improvements were like sidewalks and not sidewalks, I shouldn't say sidewalks. Our theory on sidewalks is they don't need to be on every street and then every side of the street. They just need to be trails from here to there that move people where they want to go. And it gets them to, for instance, quick way grocery stores and that sort of thing, not necessarily many trails to nowhere. So that's kind of been our attitude towards sidewalks. Not to say that big cities don't need them. I'm just saying that we don't have that much traffic along every house front. So anyway, I'll get away from that and let you guys move on. We did have a great group participate in your housing roundtable, and I guess we're looking forward to hearing from that. And I got a bit of a report on that. So
I was on mute. Wonderful, Bob. Thank you. And if you have accomplished all that you have in 13 years of retirement, well, the rest of us better get busy because you've accomplished a lot in your retirement. So thank you. Shauna, our great leadership from Troy. I have to tell you, Kathleen and Wesley, that Troy was our very first virtual community review thanks to COVID. But I think, Shauna, because of you and the work on the ground and our three-state team, I think we did it.
Yeah, it was really successful. And I mean, I never know what's going to come out of something like that, or like how much I will have to keep pushing things personally, but it hasn't really, I mean, I've done some follow-up stuff, but a lot of other people got really excited about the different projects too. So things are still coming around, but we're working on a recreation plan that includes the city of Troy and then the surrounding areas. And we are waiting to hear back on an LWCF grant to redo a bunch of park stuff. You know, cross your fingers for us. And we are building a distance cyclist park that's adjacent to the golf course and mountain bike pump track right in the middle of town. So yeah, so the things are happening, and there's other things. We had a mountain bike club that came out of that for kids. So a local volunteer put a grant together and bought, I think, maybe 25 bikes, used mountain bikes on Craigslist. And so kids could check them out for the summer and return them in the fall. That was really neat. And then they met up a few times, and there was some carpooling to trails and timed runs on the pump track and stuff, which is right in town. So kids can get to it really easy. They don't need transportation. Yeah, so lots of things came out of that. Personally, I'm on the city council. That's my connection to all this. I've also worked in community development for a nonprofit here for the last 12 years, but not currently. And then I'm working with a friend to start a distillery this year.
This is the year.
This is the year. It's happening. We're signing papers.
Got it. Great, Shauna. Thank you so much. And thanks for all that you do. Last but not least, Alyssa.
Hi, I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Good. So yeah, my camera is not working on this laptop, but yeah, sorry about that. So I am Alyssa Townsend. I'm with the Big Sky Economic Development Trust Fund Program with the Montana Department of Commerce. And I've been doing these calls for a while now. I think I've been on this working group for quite a while, and a strong supporter of MEDA. And I just wanted to also mention, Kathleen, that you have a fantastic staff. So they have been a pleasure to work with over the years. Lad Barney, Lee McGivney, there's several, Vonda McGarvey. There's a really good staff with USDA that with my grant program have been able to connect with these other entities. In fact, we have just recently started up our own funding roundtable where the funders get together for grants only and talk about different things that we can address, different issues that we're all dealing with, and that we can address as funders. So, and Shauna, I'm really glad to see you on here because we do have a connection. So your connection is Vonda McGarvey, and I am the connection for Tina Oliphant, and we are working on the same project. So it's the Troy Recreation Plan that Shauna kind of alluded to. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a big economic development / community development community, and MEDA is a huge part of that. And yeah, I think it's a good fit. So thanks.
Thanks for the kudos to the team, Alyssa. I have been talking them up as well too. I'm so fortunate to have the team that I do. So it's great. Thanks.
Yeah, a lot of strong experience.
Yeah.
And again, Kathleen, just for a historic comment, when we do have a community review, there's always someone from Department of Commerce, maybe even two, and always someone from USDA. So MEDA is very grateful for your partnership. Okay, well, we took 20 minutes for introductions, but I just felt it was really important today because each of you have so much to contribute, and I felt like you needed to know who each other was. After all, this is a peer learning network. So next on the agenda, I have a little announcement to make. February 16th at 10:30 a.m. we're going to have a community review workshop / training. As you may know, I'm going to work full-time for the Anaconda Community Foundation starting March 1st. And I just want to make sure that community reviews continue and go strong. And some of you could be very helpful in that effort to make sure they continue. And so we're going to do an hour-and-a-half training, the 16th at 10:30. So if you just pencil that down, we'll have more information and an invite coming then. Next, and maybe Laurie, if I could put you on the spot, we are going to have a special invitation for the community boot camp. Laurie, would you, am I putting you on the spot and asking you to share a little bit about the community boot camp?
No, I was looking for my calendar to put that training on it. Yeah, so we're getting ready in the next week to send out applications to participate in a WeCAN community boot camp, which is, we do these community reviews in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, but because they're so intensive, which they need to be, each one takes, quite a lot of time and energy and a lot of people to kind of pull them together. And it, virtual it worked really well with Troy, and we did one in Idaho and it didn't work so well. Didn't have good participation in the second phase. And so, and a lot of communities are just like, no, we don't want to do virtual. We don't have, our internet isn't good enough or whatever. They just don't want to do that. So anyway, this is a way that we can connect with more communities at a time, and kind of kickstart community action is sort of the idea. We talked about what our focus should be in terms of the kinds of projects that we want to support communities to do. And, with all the rescue money supporting sort of the big, jobs, workforce training, infrastructure, those kinds of things, and recognizing that with community reviews, we often find people are saying, we really would like to have more of these quality of life or placemaking kinds of projects, that would really, help our community sort of get more connected, have places to gather, have some community pride. So we're sort of encouraging through the boot camp that communities will look at a project like that they would want to do. And the whole series of 4 workshops is kind of putting wheels on a project like that. So we start with identifying the project, and we'll be talking a bit about rural innovation. We have a speaker from New Hampshire who's written a book about rural innovation and how that's really different than the kinds of innovation that is typically talked about and is pretty urban centric. So really talking about the connection between these placemaking kinds of activities and fostering an environment of rural innovation. And then once communities, I am so sorry about this frog in my throat. Once the project is selected, the next week is talking about building networks of support for that project, and really identifying assets and strengths and people in the communities that can support projects, as well as developing a compelling story about your project that was going to appeal to people and kind of get them and help get them involved in some way. And then we have a speaker from Crowdfund Better who's going to lead that workshop. And then each week communities that participate are going to have time to work together with a facilitator and talk about what they want to do or how they want to apply what they just learned. And then the third week is all about financing community projects. And we have Darren Saul, who's actually with University of Idaho, but he also has his own company, and he works with rural communities and has been doing a lot of this work with them and helping them put together a toolbox for identifying funding sources and for community projects. And it's, you know, it's really about how to put something together depending on what the project is, but really building out that capacity to understand, like, what are the different options and where do we go and how do we finagle that. And then the last week is all about, action plans, different kinds, different levels of organization, from very like no organization, just go do stuff, to having a steering committee or teams, and actually detailed plans with goals and steps and responsibilities and timelines and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to kind of go over that, and then communities will end up with a plan for implementing a project and some coaching assistance going forward to help get that project off the ground. And then also some matching funds to support the project happening. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's going to be 3 communities per state for this first round, because we want to beta test it. So we're going to limit, but hopefully going forward, we could have as many as, 20, 25 communities participating in this when we do a round of it. So sorry, that was too much information.
But that's good. That's good. Every time I hear you explain it, it sinks in more to me. To me, it's kind of like reimagining rural. Sean, I think Troy participated in reimagining rural. Bob, did Lockwood participate in reimagining rural?
No, we didn't, but it'd be good if Laurie kind of kept us up on what her plan is here. So.
Yeah, we will. It's kind of like that, only as Laurie said, it puts the project on wheels. Reimagining Rural, I know Anaconda participated in it and we came up with a project, but this goes way deeper and maybe helps you work through some challenging projects. So there's different approaches to getting things done, right? Reimagining Rural is perfect for some projects to get done. This approach is for when you need a little bit more muscle and network and resources. Okay.
Yeah, and definitely communities that have participated in reimagining rural, are welcome to apply as well. And we even have a blurb in there. It's like, so this, this could help you further a project that you came up with from reimagining rural, or a different project. So I've been working with Tara actually as the last few days, because it's similar in format. I mean, just because of COVID and we need to do this virtually, so she's a little worried that it is a little too much like reimagining rural. So we're figuring out how to be very distinct, that this is not, but can build on work that communities have done with reimagining rural. So the application should be out this time next week.
Great.
So look for it Thursday, Friday.
All right.
And Laurie, can you share where those resources are found? The web resources, a link.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll put our link in the chat too.
Thank you.
So it's the WeCAN website, and then that website has a Peer Learning Network page, and it has a housing page as well, with all the resources and resource guides and stuff we put together for that. And then we will have a boot camp page, which isn't up yet, but we will have that. So yeah, I'll put that in the, thanks for
Well,
reminding me. I was
that
gonna-
is a perfect segue. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And this is the Housing Solutions webpage that resulted from our summit on January 13th. And I imagine this will be the same main website, Lori, that will put the boot camp.
Yeah, it'll be,
information too. So communityreview.org is where you'll find it. But now going on to our takeaways from the Housing Solutions Summit, Wesley, I want to get your feedback on it and maybe some things to add. But this is the site. If you scroll down, you can see there's the recording of the whole thing. If there was something that you missed and want to go deeper on. And this document here, free to download, it is the Housing Solutions resource toolkit and guide. To me, it's more like a living document. If you do download it, I know I'm finding out more resources every day in Montana and different projects. And so I'm just adding to it myself. So if you do look at it in that way, that it's a living document and we need to keep adding to it. So if you have resources from Montana to add, please send them to me. So with that, I'm just wondering about some takeaways you might have, or Wesley, you said you wanted to add some thoughts about the Housing Summit. Did I have that right? Or
Oh,
resources?
I wasn't able to attend the Housing Summit. So I'm looking forward to learning about, about what was there.
Got it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Anyone have any thoughts on Bob? You said you had some thoughts on the summit. Sorry. I need my coffee.
Yeah, I was gonna just give you an update on my 15 people in the room. We did the Zoom call collectively, let's put it that way, in Lockwood. We met at a coffee and canvas shop in the area here and threw it up on a screen, and some of the participants weren't that interested in being outspoken, but they wanted to watch along and that sort of thing. Actually, we felt that the roundtable was very informative. It shared a lot of information that the people in the room were concerned about or were interested in. And they were not, let's say, regular attendees of, I chair a Lockwood steering committee that kind of deals with the 5 districts that serve the needs of Lockwood. Lockwood's about a 8,000 population community, and it has a water, sewer, and all the other typical services that a city has. Not all of them, but most of them. That's where we share interest or information across the 5 districts, because they operate independently. We don't want duplication of effort. So essentially we communicate amongst those districts or utilities, as you might call them somewhere else. The people that attended the housing one ended up being developers and that sort of thing that weren't normally at our meetings. And kind of what's happened is we had our steering committee meeting last night. Some of the more vocal ones at the call attended. And like I indicated in my response, is the initiative is now, since the roundtable occurred, the initiative for the communities is now more in the community's hands to decide how they want to move forward with the usage of what occurred at the roundtable. And so this group is, and I say group, it's not large, it's probably 3 or 4 developers and that sort of thing, kind of in the lead. And like the school district, who's concerned about growth because it will affect populations in the school. So that'll be part of the discussion. But it's moving forward. Hopefully I can use this initiation to get some other people fired up. So thank you for that.
Great, Bob. Thank you. Welcome, Julie. So glad you're here. Anyone else have more feedback on the summit? Shauna, were you able to be on it?
No, I had something came up that day and
That's okay. That's okay. Julie, I believe you were not to pick on you the minute you get on, Julie. But please introduce yourself. And we're just at the point now where we're asking for feedback on the housing summit.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry I was late. We're dealing with some fast moving stuff with ARPA funds here in our organization. And I had a meeting that ran a little bit over, but I am a project manager. I work for Homeward in Missoula. We are a developer. We develop homes people can afford to rent, and we also provide first-time home buyer education and a ton of other stuff. But I was at the roundtable. It was very interesting. I thought there were some things that I learned that were brand new. And I've been, as an architect, I was, my primary clients were affordable housing developers. When I worked for the city of Seattle as a plan review manager, that was one of my areas of focus, was shepherding those permits through the system. And then working for Homeward for the last 13 years, I've sometimes you think you've heard it all, you think, oh, I've seen everything that anybody can try and solve this problem. And there were things that I hadn't thought of or I hadn't heard of, ways to do things, more information about things. We recently started partnering with Habitat for Humanity of Missoula to try and incorporate home funds into their owner build projects, and also community land trusts. And as you all probably know, in Montana, where people really treasure the land and ownership of the land, it's can be a challenging proposition to try and get people to understand that a community land trust provides a lot of benefits to them as owners and also to the community because of its ability to keep those homes affordable for longer periods of time. And, it was a really interesting group of people, kind of a different group of people than you necessarily see brought together. And I was really glad to see some government, elected officials there, hearing about the issues, and people that are working towards solving this or resolving this or bettering this crisis from a different angle than we are as developers, or really as a lot of people that we come into contact with who are really focused on this, our home program staff or our housing finance agency, Montana Housing. It's an integral part of our lives. So we tend to think of it as something that's always been there, and we're never going to really solve. So it's great to see other people with energy coming in and thinking of new ways to look at it. And I really appreciated access to all the materials and recordings because, as hard as you try, it's with this format, it can be hard to really be focused on what's happening. So it's great to have that as a resource to look back on and be able to review what did that one person say from Idaho about this, and be able to go back and double check it. So that's great. I really appreciated it.
Julie, you were a presenter, weren't you?
I did. I presented on a project that we did in Livingston,
Yeah, it was
and
fascinating.
the historic adaptive reuse project. And it's,
I visited my Aunt Betty in that hospital and I told my husband, can you believe it that they transformed that building? I was like, what? So I was really fascinated by that project.
it's a good demonstration project because it's mid-century modern architecture, and most people in Montana, when they think of historic, you know, they think of like those downtown Main Street buildings, or, you know, some big mansion that's some railroad baron had back in the day. But that building is historic also, and it's the kind of building that isn't really beautiful from the outside. It has some nice elements of mid-century modern architecture, but it's historic because hospitals are historic for small communities. Everybody's born there. A lot of people die there. They have, you know, they tend to attract important people from other communities because there will be dedications or community events or whatever. So hospitals hold a lot of history, and they're also great buildings to convert to homes because you have that central corridor system that works really well in Montana.
Very good.
That was so cool. I have a question. So we had hoped we'd have an intern to help us put all things with the roundtable together before the roundtable, but you know, better late than never. So we have an opportunity to have an intern. Something we were thinking about that might be helpful is sort of a catalog or an inventory of housing solution projects like the Livingston Blue Bunch Flats project and some of the others that were talked about. And we came across, you know, dozens of other projects that were, you know, similar maybe, but, you know, maybe a different kind of building was rehabilitated, or, you know, it had a different purpose. Maybe it was more for supported, you know, housing for different populations or something. We thought we might have this intern put together those solution stories into kind of a document where there's just a blurb, you know, about each project and some links where people could go find more. Do you think that would be useful? Or is there something else that might be a better use of his time that we could do that would be complementary and say supportive, Bob, of your efforts going forward?
I would agree that something would be helpful, but maybe if it were in an online format versus a document, as you indicated.
Yes, I don't think it needs to be hard paper, but or if it is hard paper, at least have it uploaded.
Yeah.
Now, your question, I believe, is would the list of alternative projects comparable to what was shown in the roundtable be useful to us? It could for some people, yes. I think at least the group that is working here in Lockwood is still rattling around trying to decide an approach. Some have projects envisioned, and I think it's right now their biggest or strongest concern is addressing the new recode. Most of our builders are familiar with the way it always was done. And now there's a concern that, well, we can't put garages in the front of the house on the streets because it's not appealing to whomever's in the zoning group. And the other part is they opened up zoning so that it is combined with other efforts. Not, in other words, it's not all residential. It's not all one size, and they want them to put together. And I'm not as articulate with the words on this new recode, but in essence, it's they're translating what they knew historically to the new recode and being able to address it. So it's requiring some innovation, in my viewpoint, on their part, which is, as any transition, a little hard on people that have always done it this way. So that's part of what's going on. And again, if there's some way that this product could help that out, that would be probably most useful to the people that I'm interacting with right now.
So helping figure out how to adapt to changing code requirements,
Right.
kind of, yeah.
And this is basically a use of land thing. I've been pushing them on multifamily, not just historically it was onesie twosies, in that they put a duplex here and a single family dwelling here. I'm more interested in reaching the point where it's an apartment building where people or even patio homes or even condos, to the point where people are no longer taking care of the yard. In fact, it even appears that the young people, and we're talking mostly teachers and that sort of thing, spend their time more at work than they do at home. So the concern is, do you really need to have space to take care of, and that sort of thing. And with our expanding water and sewer district, we're able to provide services that higher densities are allowed or would be able to transition to. So I'm a pusher. So basically I just push on the corners of things and say, maybe it ought to be a 3-story apartment building. Well, that kind of spooks all the neighbors and that sort of thing. So it's those kinds of things, you know, and I guess I'm talking more envisioning things,
Yeah.
not just recode, because the people concerned with recode are the contractors and constructors that have to change a mode or method that they've been using successfully up to this point in time. Now, not every community is going to be in the recode issue that we are in our county, but that's the item front and center for housing development right now. So,
well, let's stay in touch, Bob, because I'm going to talk to Jen Lopez, who is one of the 2 keynotes, in a couple of weeks. And she had expressed interest in working with communities on the pre-development side. That's sort of where she shines and does her best work, she says. So I said, well, let's talk about what that might look like and how we could maybe help some of the communities that coming out of this roundtable want to move on something. So we're going to talk about how we can get her support for some of the communities in the 3 states. So let's stay in touch about that.
that would be good. The other observation I would make is several of these contractors, let's say, are not enamored with using government money, let's say. They've never done it. They think it ought to all be private, that sort of thing. So some of that transition can occur, yet their complaints are with the fact that there's too much regulation, there's too much this and that interfering with them getting And I realize that this is a growing pains issue, not necessarily a real boogeyman kind of situation. So anyhow, that's a little bit where I'm at. And as I say, I push around the edges.
So we should change your name to the Pusher of Lockwood.
Right now, that wouldn't go over so big with is how many recreational shops are opening up in our rural community. So, right now, it looks like it's going to be transitory because our commissioners decided that they're going to allow basically a vote in the county to determine whether they want to allow recreational shops in the county. People are on opposite ends of this vote. I mean, it passed earlier. Now it's kind of open season from now until the vote in June. So there's going to be wrangling and that sort of thing going on. But right now we've got all of the out-of-town shop. See, the city of Billings voted against having recreational shops in town. But the county is us right around the outskirts, has not gone to that effort, but the commissioners were pushed to the point where they're looking at a vote in June. So that's again a private problem. So
oh boy, that's a little sticky, doesn't it?
oh yeah.
Okay. I'm checking in on the time. Yes, Shauna.
As far as that resource guide goes, and maybe you're already doing this, but I think what could be useful to people here, and I don't know, maybe other areas too, is ideas for private developers who aren't interested in doing a community project, but they, you know, I know several people who would love to do some kind of small housing project. There's a little trailer court that's for sale, and multiple friends of mine are interested in buying it, but you know, it's hard to put all those pieces together, even if they have the money to do it. And then they'd want to phase out the trailers and put in little small homes. So there's like, the goal is the same as the community housing type projects, but I know this is very similar across the state where people don't want to work in groups. We're all familiar. They want to do their own thing, and it's an investment. It's a small return, and they know that going into it. But I feel like a lot of these resources are maybe more meant for working in groups and not individuals. So I don't know, some resources for that. Any kind of low interest loan options, or I mean, I know grants are a long shot for private investment, but anything like that, or guides on how to go in on, you know, how to do a development, a small development with a few owners. Like if 3 friends wanted to go in together to buy this trailer park, and how do you do that? How do you structure all that if you don't have a business background?
Yeah, okay. Well,
I would second that. From my other role in the city of East Helena, we have, not in the city limits, but surrounding, that could be annexed into the town, that there are some issues, and some are in our water district and blah, 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 all sorts of things, but that could be of interest very much so for, I'm sure, dozens of small communities throughout Montana. But, and among others, but that's a great example, Shauna.
yeah.
Pretty common.
There are, in the resource guide, there are some links to some of those kinds of projects, like for example, there's a video about Guernsey, Wyoming, and they did just that. It was like 6 friends went in together and they rehabbed a building downtown for apartments. And then they just kept taking money that they made from, you know, the little bits of money they made, and then they invested it in, you know, building a couple of houses. so they just keep turning that over to create, different kinds of housing, affordable housing options in their very small town in Wyoming. So that there's some stuff on that. And I think LEAP, Bart Cochran recording that bit, you might be interested, because he does a lot of work with resident owned communities.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like they have a trailer park project they did where they help the people who live there buy it. So yeah, so they own the land now. They're not paying rent on the land. And so there are some examples in there already, but that's great feedback for what we want to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think kind of to Shauna's point and to Bob's, if the resource includes contact people that could be contacted about those projects, so that if someone sees something that they think might work for them, they could reach out to the proponents or the people involved with the project or whoever agreed to be having their name listed, who could then provide some feedback or maybe some additional resources that they know about. We've had a lot of people in the community that have supported Homeward for years that are now wanting to do, small impact investments with Homeward. Hey, let us, buy this property for you that, and hold it while you guys put together the development project, which would then beyond that. And then, they get a small return on their investment, and they're doing something with their money that makes them feel better than, just having corporate stock for some big, stock market benefit. So it's the kind of thing, they're not do-it-yourselfers, but the people Shauna's been hearing about sound like they're do-it-yourselfers. So other do-it-yourselfers could, kind of give them some tips on how to get started, and maybe resources or professionals that could help them, through the first project or something.
Well, great. Thank you all for that super feedback. I'm very conscious of the time because I want to respect your schedules. It's 10:28. You have provided fabulous information for us. I really enjoyed the discussion today. I do want to talk about our next meeting. It's February 25th at 9:30. What would you like to have on the agenda? What would you further like to dig into? Just real quick. Anything, everything. What would you like to have on the agenda next month?
Is the resource guide, is the month too soon to see if that's a possibility to review and learn from and go through the resources available?
Probably won't be quite ready, but if it is, we could send that out to you all ahead of time for sure and get some feedback. I would love to, one of the things in our grant that we are supposed to do is do a little bit of evaluation of the peer learning network. And Bob, you're familiar with this, but could we do like a little ripple effects mapping session next time? And some of you are going, what? Bob knows what it is. And we are going to have to do this in Troy at some point too, Shauna. So it'd be a good way for you to sort of see how it works. But it's a pretty simple, straightforward process where we give you some prompting questions about, how has the peer learning network, helped change the way you think about community development, or created new connections for you, or, whatever this is given you. we're interested in hearing about this, and this is just a way to sort of prompt those experiences and capture those in a kind of a mind map. So we'll put the map, digitized map up on the screen, and as you're talking, I type in, you know, what you're saying, and sort of you see this mind map of ripples sort of be created, you know, as we go.
If I could jump in, it is really, really cool. And the cool thing is Julie, Wesley, Bob, oh, Shauna, you can use it beyond the exercise we're going to do. For example, MEDA has used it to determine how effective MEDA has been. Or Wesley, you could use it to see impact the SWIB has had, or Bob, your districts, or Julie, homeward. So it would be a great thing to do, Laurie, because it would also expose people to the tool of ripple effects mapping. So shall we focus on that? Next, go.
I'm okay with focusing on that, but I became a little concerned if part of the discussion is dependent upon me. I'm going to be in travel status on the 25th. So if I'm sitting down somewhere, I'll participate. If I'm not, the connection would be more difficult. I'm traveling, so I'm not sure where I'm going to be at 9:30, let's say.
Should maybe schedule a different time for it? I'd really love to have you there, Bob. You've been one of the most engaged in this process, and I want to make it as comfortable for you as possible, to not kind of stressful to try to.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy to sit down on the call. I'll be remote, but I always have my laptop with me, so it wouldn't be a difficulty. Like I say, and I can schedule or try to schedule around the 9:30. I think I'm going to be able to do it, but if it's dependent on me, you maybe should have an alternative if I don't make the call.
Okay, well, we can always, you know, catch up with you at another time as well. So
Let's try and organize it that way. But like I say, I'm planning to try and make the 9:30.
okay.
But if it's dependent upon me, that's spooky. So
Okay. All right.
my
We'll try to
memory's not
get,
very good.
like Alana, is that who's the gal from your community?
Delana.
Oh, Delana. Delana actually moved to Powell,
Oh,
Wyoming. So she's not been active in Lockwood lately. So
I think Bob's irreplaceable.
well, maybe I'll move to Powell too. No.
well, she could join from Powell, since we have a peer learning network in Wyoming. And that's another thing we've been talking about too, because I'm sorry we're going over, Gloria. I know you're such a stickler for time, but we've been seeing, you know, dwindling numbers participating in the peer learning networks in all 3 states. They started out with a bang, and then gradually people have moved, or, you know, gotten busy with other things or whatever. So we're thinking about combining them into one peer learning network. So we have more community members, you know, for you to sort of share with, bounce ideas off of and whatnot. You know, and then when it's pertinent, we could do breakout rooms. So then the Montana folks could go off into a breakout room for, you know, 15 minutes or something to talk about something specific to Montana. So that's another thing we're thinking about. So if you have any thoughts about that, we'll, you know, either share now or think about it and let us know what you think about that idea.
Let me talk on breakout rooms for a minute. I actually almost prefer the large room. in the housing roundtable, I don't think it worked really well except in one breakout room. So,
Mm.
and maybe that improves as we get more used to using breakout rooms, but I didn't find them real effective. So
And that was mine, right, Bob? Mine was the best.
I don't know that I sat in yours, Gloria.
It was the best.
Well, then it must have been because I wasn't in that.